So I will invite Mike Lalonde, coordinator of the innovation sector of the Chamber of Agriculture of Morbihan, who will talk about the experiences to reduce hardship at work. Good evening. So I will present a study that is undertaken in Brittany that is dependent on the Chamber of Agriculture of Morbihan, and the title is Towards a Reduction of Painstaking Work and Time of Weeding, Manual Weeding. This was undertaken thanks to the work of Marie Cordonnier, who was an apprentice. I have little time to present this study, so I decided to focus on the context and the specific problem and the methodology that was followed for this study. Concerning the results of the study, you can come back to me later on so we can have a discussion on this topic. So the context is that of diversified vegetable crops, many different species, more than 60 different vegetables being cultivated. We can have between 5 and 10 hectares. The investment is difficult, investment in mechanization, for two reasons. The equipment is costly and it has little versatility. So if you can use it on 2, 3, or 4 different cultures, you can't be able to use it on the 60. Then there is the question of weeding that has to be something else done with chemical products. So you have mechanic or manual options. And from what I said, manual weeding is extremely important. We estimate that that represents more than 1/3 of the time allocated. So there's a high painstaking in terms of work. Many workers have skeleton problems and back problems. And plus, there is a high occupation of plots during the summer. And all the time that is spent on weeding isn't spent doing income generating activities that are during the spring and summer, selling your products. So we know the context. The topic of painstaking work is also quite well known. What was lacking until now was the adapted equipment to be able to work on this. So we've had a specific material used on one plot that gives interesting results, but we weren't able to have a global approach of a whole holding. So when I discovered the Oz robot in 2014, I was extremely interested and thought maybe we have a tool here that could enable us to mechanize weeding for vegetable crops. And we also have the autonomous option. So for this project to go forth, I needed to make sure it was legitimate. I knew that painstaking work was an important theme, but this is something that few people talk about in the industry. And this is my own position, my own thought, of course, but we have many more women in this environment, and they talk more than men do. So they tend to bring forth the fact that it is a difficult work to do. So even if the producers haven't been talking about it directly to us, we felt that they were supporting our approach. So what is the objective of this project? To answer a need to reduce the time spent in weeding, manual weeding, and reducing painstaking work. So we have two different approaches. One where we're working with the autonomous Oz 440 robot, and another one with rotation crops. So what is the efficiency? What is the profitability? What are the different interests in terms of work time and painstaking work? So I think that the question raised here is a new practice of weeding able to reduce the painstaking work, but also the time spent in weeding? So, of course, we've got technical partners such as MSA, Nayo, of course, that was quite we needed them as our partners from a mechanical point of view, especially for Brittany. And then we've got the Station en Agromachinisme des Cormier. For financial partners, we have one only partner, which is France Agrimaire, who has been financing this project up to 60% and for 4 years. So we've reached 2 years already, and we have a budget of 60,000 euros per year, and the rest is being financed by the Agricultural Chamber. We have 2 plots that are being studied. So one where we focused on weeding, how can we make sure that we have less weeds in our plots, and then we have a greenhouse where we focused on painstaking work, and this is what I wanted to talk about today. When we talk about painstaking work, it's true that we didn't have the competencies to work on this topic. We needed to have the MSA to collaborate with us. So we naively believed that they had a protocol, something that had already been created to be able to diagnose our practices with or without robots. So it's true that this topic is mentioned in the media through the new legislation, labor legislation. It's very difficult to apply this code in our work industry. So what we discovered is that there wasn't much available, that we had to create everything. And so things were complicated because this is quite subjective. We may have different feelings, different impressions when we work. The operators may be different. So what are the criteria to assess? What are the thresholds? How can we ventilate these criteria? So we had a lot of different elements when we started to work on this topic. And so we didn't know how to proceed. We didn't have anything concrete that could help us and that could be used directly by small producers. So we continued, and we thought that we would bring forward something new that can be criticized, of course. So we created a grid, an assessment grid. So we decided that we were not going to assess the arduousness of a specific task, but analyze the different position gestures with or without a robot. So in this grid, we have 5 different elements. I'm going to read them. So you've got gestures, loads, shocks and vibrations, work environment, and mental impact. And so you have many more details here that you can see on screen. Then we decided to undertake a simple assessment. You can see this at the top of the screen. You have green, which is an acceptable position, orange, which is not very good, and then the one that you shouldn't use. So once we created this grid, we filmed each crop operation undertaken with a robot or without a robot. For example, here we are planting, and we decided to deconstruct the gesture, explaining if this was good for the shoulders, the knees, etc. And so we just filled in this grid that you can see on the right-hand side of the video. And you can see that for the video, when you're using the robot, you spend less time in awkward positions. You have a better position when you're using the robot, but it's not as good for your shoulders. So this is the work that we undertook for all the different gestures and operations. And the most striking difference was for hoeing. And so we created technical sheets that I will be able to deliver to distribute today. And we did this for each and every operation, describing the gestures. And we also had the contribution of a counselor on risks, without which we wouldn't have been able to progress. So what are the first results? We're just having the first impacts of our work on the stock of weeds in our different plots. What we've noticed is that ours is able to manage weeds very well. We also have to pay attention to the quality of weeding on the rows. And there's the notion of pairing human being and robot. The robot is going to do the work, and the man that's piloting it will be able to rectify if there's a problem. And then we will have to be able to calculate this, the decrease of time spent on weeding. And so we hope that we will be able to deepen our research next year. We try to put forward the benefits of this robot for some activities such as hoeing, but we've seen that for some operations, your knees or your shoulders will be more impacting. So I think that each producer has to decide if it's beneficial or not. From an economical point of view, we know that it's a high investment. But if we have to figure out the benefits on painstaking work, it's more difficult to define this, and we do not know what price to give. So some say that this could be the cost of sick leave, for example. This could be an option. There should be an improvement made to the protocol in 2017. We would like to have our project more legitimate and undertake a research to see what are the different practices of all the producers, which is complicated in a diversified vegetable crops, which means that it's a complex topic. Thank you very much.